does, doesn't it? I guess somebody has to like those things. How come I can't get away with playing that other game? It's not healthy enough.
So this is natural built-in obsolescence then? I mean, because it's 26 years?
Yeah, the car needs restoration. The car needs restoration. It's an old car.
That's right. And I'm happy to do it because I love it.
Yeah. Needs some attention.
Pardon me?
Needs some attention.
Yeah. Well, it didn't, it hasn't cost me hardly anything in 25 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the academic party and the chancellor.
declare that the 497th Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Good morning. I am Dr. Eileen Bush-Vishniak, Provost and Vice President Academic of the university. This morning I have the great pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies and of welcoming all of you to Convocation ceremonies. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask everyone in the hall to switch off any electronic device that can make as much noise as we will on stage. Thank you. I would now like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Linton Wilson, to make his own welcoming remarks.
Please be seated. A very good morning to you all. Mr. President and Vice Chancellor, Madam Provost, Dean Crosta, Dean Yates, and Dean McNutt, honorary graduand, members of the platform party, graduands, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to this 497th Convocation of McMaster University. To those graduating this morning, you've reached an important milestone, an exciting milestone in your lives. Many of you will begin careers, embarking on new journeys. Some of you will be continuing your education, training, or preparation for more advanced or specialized activities. To the parents, grandparents, family members, spouses, and friends here today, you may bask in reflected glory and take pride in the accomplishments being recognized in this convocation. To our faculty and staff, today marks tangible recognition of your efforts, particularly the successes of your students evident in this ceremony. I wish you all an enjoyable morning.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, who will be presenting our honorary degree recipient.
Mr. Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Anne Golden. Dr. Anne Golden, who holds a PhD in American history, has exerted a tremendous influence on the Canadian not-for-profit, institutional and corporate sectors for the last 3 decades, and in the process has played a key role in influencing the evolution of Canadian society. An expert and frequent writer on public policy issues, Dr. Golden began building her credentials and reputation as a researcher. She has been the Director of Policy Research for the Ontario Liberal Party, a special advisor to the provincial leader of the opposition, and the research coordinator for the Bureau of Municipal Research. Then, as president of the United Way of Greater Toronto for nearly a decade and a half, she not only helped raise hundreds of millions of dollars for local and regional member organizations and direct investment in community building, she became a nationally recognized voice for social issues, perhaps most prominently for homelessness. Dr. Golden chaired a 1996 task force for the provincial government on the future of the Toronto area and another task force in 1998 for the City of Toronto and the federal government on homelessness. Both of her reports, Greater Toronto reported the GTA task force, and Taking Responsibility for Homelessness, an action plan for Toronto, remain relevant, respected, and frequently cited documents today. In 2001, Dr. Golden joined the Conference Board of Canada as its President and Chief Executive Officer. In this role, she guided the Canada Project, the largest public policy project undertaken by the Conference Board of Canada, and co-authored Volume 3, Mission Possible, Successful Canadian Cities. She also helped found and now supervises the Directors College, a joint venture of the Conference Board and McMaster University. Dr. Golden is a member of the Order of Canada, and the honorary degree she receives today will be her 8th. She has received the Urban Leadership Award for City Engagement from the Canadian Urban Institute, as well as the WXN Canada's Most Powerful Women Top 100 Award. Twice, the National Post named her one of Canada's brightest and best women executives. With a focus on her local community, she has been included as one of Toronto's top 10 power brokers, again according to the National Post, and chosen as one of the 8 best people in metropolitan Toronto by Toronto Life magazine. Dr. Anne Golden has worked from a diverse set of platforms to build, to strengthen, and to enhance the fabric of Canadian society. Mr. Chancellor, I ask that you recognize her contributions by conferring upon her the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Anne Golden, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa in McMaster University, with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Please sign the book. Now, I'd like to call upon Dr. Golden to deliver the Convocation address. Dr. Golden.
Thank you very, very much. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, proud graduates, and prouder families. I'm delighted to be receiving this honor from McMaster University. In doing so, I am very conscious that McMaster, which is regularly ranked in the world's top 100 universities with graduates in more than 120 countries, has Ontario roots that go back 175 years. That's to the days of Upper and Lower Canada for you historians. Since then, McMaster has grown and flourished as a seat of learning, generation by generation. I read this week as I was traveling that you are also 6th in Canada in terms of research, and your provost explained to me this morning that really on a per capita basis, you're 2nd. Quite remarkable. McMaster has been a good friend and partner of the Conference Board of Canada. One of my early decisions as president of the Conference Board was to partner with McMaster University, as your president mentioned, in establishing the Directors College to deliver corporate governance education to board directors and senior executives. The graduates are granted the coveted McMaster University Corporate Director designation. Pardon me. McMaster is the first university in Canada to grant a formal designation for corporate directors. I'm also pleased that McMaster University is very active in our quality network for universities. In fact, Dr. Peter Smith, Associate VP Academic, who was born and raised in Brazil, is playing an important role in helping us organize a site visit to universities and education departments next year in Brazil. Well, at the risk of striking a sobering note on this most wonderful day for each of you and your families, today's reality is that we live in turbulent times. And most of that turbulence these days seems to be economic. We are immersed in the terms of the dismal science economics: mortgage meltdown, double-dip recession, sovereign debt defaults, potential European bank failures, the American debt ceiling debacle, all very depressing. And I have to tell you that linked to this economic loom is something more fundamental. All the stories of excessive borrowing and debt-ridden overexpansion and governments paralyzed in deadlock in the US and in Europe lead many people to feel that matters are spinning out of control. Visceral anxiety is growing that economies won't recover, that high unemployment will continue, and that leaders and the institutions they run are simply not up to the task. And this is the topic that I wish to explore with you today: the growing lack of confidence and trust in leaders and institutions, in the private sector, in the public sector, in banks and other corporations, in politicians, in the public service, and in the media, and what we, each of us, can do in response. Any society is built on trust. We trust that we can walk safely down our streets. We trust that money we put into the bank will be there when we need it. We trust that the airplane we take has a trained pilot and will not fall out of the sky. But in Canadian society today, we are losing trust in free markets to deliver steady improvements in our family incomes and standard of living, and we are losing trust in the ability of governments to limit the market's excesses. The snowballing worldwide protests that began in New York on Wall Street as a rallying cry against income inequality and a recovery that left the majority behind have given voice and are giving voice to this lack of trust. What do I mean by trust, and what does it matter? When I talk about trust, I mean the threshold in our minds that determines whether we are willing to engage in cooperative behavior in the face of risk and uncertainty. Trust means counting on others to act with the same competence, integrity, and goodwill that we ourselves bring to the table. The relentless erosion of trust that we've been seeing for years now strikes at the heart of our ability to prosper in our workplaces, in our communities, and as a nation. We live in a highly competitive and rapidly changing world. Competing effectively requires innovation. Innovation requires a willingness to take risks, and to be willing to take risks as a group, we just have to trust each other. What can you, as this country's future leaders, do about this growing public cynicism? First, you can commit to always acting personally in a way that engenders trust, that makes you worth trusting. You yourself can commit to being honest, to demonstrating competence in what you do, and to communicating with transparency to everyone you deal with, be it customers, employees, or the public. I know this may sound simple and cliched, but actually, these qualities are too often lacking in our leaders. Secondly, you can engage personally in helping to find solutions. When any of us confronts a problem, we essentially have two options. We can reach out, engage with the issue, and help to deal with it, or we can hunker down, build walls around ourselves, and passively hope that things will get better. Over the past decade, I've seen all too much building of walls and too little constructive engagement. When major corporations like Enron and WorldCom betrayed our trust, what did we do? We passed more laws and regulations that we hoped would stop that from happening again. And it's become a reflex. When bad things happen, let's try to make more rules. And when the rules are needed, as they often are, we use a big club instead of a more nuanced approach, which would be better. It's an approach that may make us feel safer, but it creates two dangers. First, it can lead us to trying to regulate conduct so minutely that nothing bold or innovative or risky ever gets done. And second, citizens who feel comfortable only behind walls become less and less willing to engage in the public realm. For our democracy to be healthy, for our economy to be healthy, we need citizens to be politically engaged. And I don't mean engaged politically in a partisan sense, although partisan debate and competition should help shape better public policy. I'm thinking more of the original Greek term, politeia, of how we organize and govern ourselves as a society, including the conditions and rights of citizenship. We need citizens to be engaged in our shared institutions, in our businesses, in our communities, and in our governments. We need people willing to work hands-on, to grapple with the problems that come up, to suggest solutions, and to help us make the most of the opportunities that result. Engagement in this sense is not just good for you and good for those around you. I believe it is a moral imperative. That is, it is the right thing to do. I subscribe to the Jewish principle with which I was raised of tikkun olam, repairing the universe, that each person must strive to make better the society of which he or she is a part. To be cynical, to be passive, is to undermine the future both for ourselves and for others. What each of you in this room chooses to do, or not to do, matters to all of us. Now, this may seem a provocative statement, especially in the early stages of your careers. It may seem hard for you to see how you as one person can make a difference. As a small cog in a big company, in a sprawling government bureaucracy, if that's the route you choose, in the life of our country. But my experience suggests that you can. Indeed, that it is individual leaders who are pivotal in creating the climate of opinion that ultimately determines when and how change happens. Much has been written and said about leadership over the years. Most of the definitions and formulae boil down to 5 characteristics: vision, the ability to focus and set priorities, a drive to excel, including passion and commitment, innovative thinking, and effective communication. All of us have some of those qualities in some measure, and none of us is great at everything. But all of us can choose to stand for something, choose to engage, choose to be the best leaders we can be with the talents we have. I have benefited hugely from a life of engagement. I first became inspired by issues of urban development. And I learned early on, just in my 20s, that you can fight City Hall and win. And you can even take it over. Then I became engaged in my community in a different way as head of the United Way. And for the past 10 years at the Conference Board, I've been doing a job where I learn something new every day, where I get to meet and work with exceptional people who care and are committed to important work, and where I feel proud that together we are making a difference in the life of the country. I feel very fortunate in the sense that I've always had the luxury of being able to choose only jobs that are worth doing and people worth doing them with. Whether for pay or as a volunteer, these are the only 2 criteria that have mattered to me, because nothing is more important than working with people I trust to express values that I too cherish. As new graduates facing a distinctly unfriendly economic climate, you may be wondering whether you will ever have such a luxury. And yes, sometimes economic necessity means doing whatever you have to do to pay the bills, but you always have the ability to choose to engage or not with the people around you. And if you do choose to engage, if you choose to trust and to work with others toward goals you share, you can and you will make a difference. At the end of the day, there are only 3 kinds of the people in the world, I think. There are people who make things happen, there are people who watch things happen, and then there are those who wonder what happened. I can tell you, speaking very personally, that there is nothing more rewarding than being one of the people who tries to make things happen. Many of you already know that from what you have learned and accomplished right here at McMaster University. The poet W.B. Yeats once wrote, "Education is not the filling of a bucket, but the lighting of a fire. Over the course of your lives, you will need to keep refilling the buckets of your knowledge so that you can participate intelligently in the public debate on the mind-boggling problems facing global civilization." Now, this alone, staying informed, keeping up to date, is a daunting responsibility in this era of instant information and information overload. But this is only half of what you need to do. At a time when we are also bombarded by demands for instant opinions and instant response, it is vital for each of us to make the time and take the time to reflect, to use the skills of critical thinking that you have honed here at university. I hope that your education here at McMaster has prepared you for this task by stoking the fire of your curiosity to keep learning, the fire of commitment to be trustworthy members of your professions, whatever you pursue. And as I've suggested today, the fire of your determination to be engaged with those in your community who seek to tackle the problems that are now threatening to overwhelm our ability to solve them. I congratulate you on this marvelous day, and I wish each and every one of you good fortune. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Golden, for those very inspirational remarks. You've had a marvelous career and life. You are a great Canadian. We're delighted to have you now as part of the McMaster University fraternity. Everything that you've done in your life has resulted in change, resulted in something good happening as a result of your efforts. And I congratulate you for all that and wish you all the best for the future. Thank you very much.
And now Dr. Patrick Dean will come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit you to your individual degrees in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all.
Please be seated. Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, may I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study but who are not present.
I declare all these degrees conferred in absentia.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you into the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduates you would hold your applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Catherine Elizabeth Mary Mossman.
Congratulations, too.
Agatha Mirowska. Chi Wang. Fanuel Kwaku Antwi. Erin Aspen Leader.
Friends or family? Both. Congratulations.
Jessica Liana Wickberg Carey. Risa Leanne Walden. Ryan George. Ryan Anthony Joseph Vieira. Catherine Ann Walker. Michael von Massow. Michael Andrew Bruder. Jessica Lees Edge. Heather Lynn Johnson. Sherry A. Smith. Sarah Jane Clancy. Is that the last? Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Arts. Catherine Cook. Lynette Hornung. Tara Dawn Jenkins. Kyle McClyster. Erin Elizabeth Baxter. Michael Begani. Yi Bai. Laura Catherine Braun. Nicole Leanne Brown. Catherine Renee Grace. Obiaderi Iyama. Ashley McCaskill. Marie Romeo. Rachel Sloat. Daryl Spong. Nicholas Van Voogd. Joshua Willard. Aaron Zabrak Andrews. Oliver Richard Jones. Katrina Lagasse. Eleni Natasha Lutas. Andrew Rezitnik. Beverly Lisa Vatamanuk. Robert Peebles Bryden. Robert Dorilio. Catherine Ma. Alison Louise Martel. Keith Francis Walsh. Andrew Norman Boyd. Wei Wei Mao. Bradley Brian Minaker. Azza Mohammed. Jackie Jiaying Tang. Wade Lucas Timchuk. Po Tat Yip. Nem Zekanovich. Deandra Christina Cormier. Asher Ranique Joseph. Alexandria Moyles. Madeline Helga Maria Russo. Kimberly Service. Elizabeth Erin Schultes. Sanchari Su. Ryan James Trepanier. Danielle Wong. Dursim Bawari. Julian Lee Benson. Lisa Brajic. Mallory Ann Burton. Sabrina Holden. Fareen Kazmani. Magdalene Mary Tassi. Melissa Faye Vere. Jessica Cecile Bowen. Harriet Nancy Sims. Jeff Axisa. Jia Yang. Joshua Samuel Bellick. Donna Jaja. Sara de Jesus Loureiro. Maris Lush. Lauren Suzanne Murphy. Shuba Sandhill. Andrew James Ware. Carissa Calvert. Michael David Clemens. Rebecca Ellen Hicks. Ricardo Agostino Lomonaco. Tracy Lopez. Marissa Pedigowski. Danielle Maria Sloby. Madeline Christina Cowos. Janice Margaret Giftopoulos. Caitlin O'Brien Humick. Nita Sachdeva. Kiki Walters. Glenn Bushy. Kyle Dudley Cato. Jeffrey Allen Dulugokeki. Paige Faber. Dana Gold. Julian Hirsch. David B. Hodgins. Megan Nicole Kinsella. Laurie Elise Pillsworth. Laura Tanya Satani. Goya Savo. Corey Paget. Ole Chaplia. Katrina Detman. Michael Frazina. Mary Louisa Julia Giovanetti. David Kalmatz. Matthew LaRose. Cindy Lai. Harry Malhi. Nazreen Jahan Mansur. Heather Maxwell Mulligan. Aaron Mung. Sean Paul Lewis Nowakowski. Karina Pagalinan. Ryan Powell. David Michael Reeves. Julie Beth Rorison. Rupinda Sandhu. Patricia Sarnicki. Michael Vincent Scambarulli. Nadia Shivji. Marion Frances Sutronki. Pamela Louise Dressler. Cassandra Diana Flores. Adele Nicole Haslam Churchill. Adam Sawinski. Carol Elston Jackson. Leslie Jane Nichols. Ashanya Nisbet. Laura Okuto. Kirby Megan Steinhoff. Eden Teferi. Stephanie Louise Tombari. Milani Wasala. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduate of the degree Master of Science. Kendall Colney.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Business Administration. A.J. Bharat Bardwaj. Nicola Janik. Dario Medina Guerra. Peter Mykonos. Ashan Ahmad Qureshi.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Social Work. Brooke Champlin. Martha Susanna Lara. Vanessa Marie Rankin. Christine Laurie Stanslick Elliott. Cassandra Rose May Brady. Mary Elizabeth Palmer. Sarah Kathleen Robertson. Catherine Leah Schleitcher. U Min Jeet. Lynn Elaine Wardell.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts Honors. Francisco Emerson Argueto Beloso. Emily Elizabeth Barnum. Carrie Wassenberg Bruce. Already been named. Melissa Campbell. Jeffrey Chan. Chi Chen. Jonathan Jerome Chung. Anne Sophia Klinkert. Donald Corshane. Amanda May Diabro. Karen DeGroot. Emma DeGallo. Catherine Elizabeth Erlandson. Kaylee Faulkner. Ariel Fisher. Randall Ford. Boca Gao. Sabrina Gill. Jennifer Rachel Grant. Sarah Haller. Catherine Holland. Sean Paul Reginald House. Lisa Johanna Hauskamp. Samantha Ingham. Sean Kinnear. Lisa Kobus. Catherine Elizabeth McIsaac. Christopher Mackey. Jacqueline Mantego.
Lisa Claire Marcaccio. Natasha Catherine Maris. Dawn Matus. Natalie McLevich. Eva Maria Morales Torres. Jennifer Murphy. Norman Justin Paez. Christina Leah Reynolds. Jacqueline Rivers. Matthew Rothschild. Alexandra Sebave. Vanessa Simone. Paul Aaron Smith. Nicole Lara Saint-Yves. Allison Carlene Felicia Thompson. John Henry U. Thompson. Erica Uri. Jennifer Van de Vecht. Nashin Vasta. Melissa Vass. Derek Michael Watson. Erin Colleen Watson. John Charles Williams. Andrew Sean Fui Wang. Hanya Zaidi. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduate of the degree Bachelor of Music Honors. Wesley Robert Palladini. Isn't it Yates? Yes. Does that mean? Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Social Work. My apologies. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Commerce Honors. Sandra Bucht. Christopher Buckley. Yan Sancho.
Stephen Gordon Deckert. Kevin Allen A. Hachey. Blake Clifton Hamilton. Jody Lee Hannon. Yingpold Leopold Huang. Tommy Chung Ying Leung. Stephen Levert. Joshua David Liendu Kaufman. Brian Bradley McKinnon. Melissa Mosuto. Kanwar Preet Wandawa. Liam Malcolm Sangster. Kyle Silverman. Justine Siu. Dmitry Tarayenko. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Commerce. Fareed Ali. Jonathan Baldwin. Alex Yin Chung Chen. Olivia Faltas. Brent Thomas Feniak. Enya Lin. Wayne Liu. Lauren Marcotte. Bu Peng. Catherine Rittershouse. Alexander Roschin. Timothy William Sabarin. Tan Tiamanjaran. Lynette Unyanyan.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts and Science Honors. Rebecca Castellino. Jennifer Ann Regier.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts. Hassan Abbasi. George Abdelmessi. Sarina Almara Akatan. Alexandria Aspen. Melissa Bailey. Teresa Marie Bartlett. Sarah Rosemary Boyle. Brooke Ashley Marie Buckland. Carol Maylin Chan. Hao Ren Chen. Alicia Curry. Melissa D'Souza. Sarah Daly. Cindy David. Scott Douglas. Aliyah Durbury. Khaled Ayman Elad. Luisa Faletta Caravasso. Nakia Francis. Leslie Galbraith. Buchu Gao. Aaron Gower. Ning Guo. Wan Mei Hang. Lisa Marie Ivarone. Omokuyeni Egega Erune. Eiji Jiang. Leo Nupolu Johnson. Maya Danushka Kantharupan. Syed Walid Khalid. Adnan Khan. Talal Yusuf Khan. Melissa Kuch. Bernie Lam. Chun Fai Lo. Elaine Kit Ling Lung. Patricia Lutrianakis. Ashley Gale McCorriston.
Mark McGrath. Alan Meckley. Julia Elizabeth Mills. Victoria Montocchino. Jonas Mandawesa Muzara. Reem Nassim. Namdi Gerald Ngeni. Imal Nusrat. Jeffrey Robert Osborne. Cassandra Pacini. Jordan Patton. Lynn Pham. Stephanie Lynn Pocius. Adriana Yelena Rezo. Colin Fenton Rose. Brooke Ryol. Tai Long Shi. Miho Shiokawa. Kamaljit Singh. Micheline Slayman. Caitlin Suzanne Smith. Alexandra Stadnik. Elizabeth Staten. Nicole Stepaniak. Andrea Marie Titorelli. Hiteshri Vaja. Ryan Wakefield. Violet May Wakeman Ajandi. Emily Rachel Wales. Lee Williams. Catherine Wizomeski, Ka Yan Wong, Kieran Thomas Woodmass, Dee Wu, Aaron Zhao, Chen Yang, Hei-Wan Yu, Whitney Young, Bonnie C. Pugh Yen, Yu Shan Zhang.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce to you Dr. Fanuel Antwi, a PhD graduate from the Department of English and Cultural Studies, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Thank you, Madam Provost. I could say hello, but today is not a day for introductions, for introductory greetings. And so I would like to skip straight to the part of the speech where I say goodbye or take care. The phrase take care is a parting greeting that we use without often thinking about or grasping its full depths. To take care implies a relation of support. Not only does it take commitment, it takes patience, endurance, grace, and persistence. Work that each student graduating today, as well as our relatives, family members, friends, and teachers can differently attest to. Currently, I live in Halifax, working at St. Mary's University, where I teach in the Department of English as an assistant professor in literatures and cultures of the Black Atlantic. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, when I step into my introduction to literature class, I see my students waiting for lecture to begin, and I pinch my cheeks, the pain reassuring me that this is for real. I am reminded that I am blessed, fortunate to be doing the work I have spent over a decade preparing for at the University of Guelph, Keele University, George Brown College, here at McMaster, and through other non-academic institutions that have shaped me, including my family, Air Cadets, the Duke of Edinburgh Award Program, and activist and art communities. In both classes, I engage my students on the difficulties and pleasures of learning, insisting that we learn to learn from everybody and everywhere. After work on each of these days, I walk home in a confused bliss, often realizing I do not know enough and rejoicing in the fact that I am still learning. My story and struggles will be as different from yours as yours will be from each other's. But today we share an accomplishment. Today we mark the end of a common journey. And for that, I congratulate us all. And with this accomplishment, we share the fact that our learning is truly unfinished. We share the fact that, nevertheless, for you as for myself, the forum of our learning is going to change. It is going to change, whether this change signals a new school and a new degree, a new activity, a new career, a new city, or a new country. We share in our pride here today, and for this pride looks forward toward the challenges of what will follow, and you should be proud of this accomplishment. I tell you now, as a teacher, that you are not done with learning, not by a long shot. I congratulate you on successfully taking that first, most difficult step towards learning how to learn. This convocation is a gathering of care. To the people of 6 nations who host us today on their traditional territories, who share their resources, to the custodians who clean this hall, welcoming us here today, to our teachers, family members, friends, mentors, and relatives, on behalf of this graduating class, thank you, thank you, thank you for giving care. This convocation is not just a celebration or a giving of thanks to the care we have received as students. This is rather a reminder that as graduates, it is our duty to take care not just of ourselves, as a parting greeting might suggest, as we leave this university and set out on our own. We do not set out on our own. And the phrase "take care" can remind us that there are others. There are always others. And in this sense, to take care is a gentle command, not just to look after oneself, but that we take care of the others that we come across after this act of pardon. This is not simply a command that we see ourselves as caregivers, but as caretakers, taking care of a tradition and its problems. A tradition that we have inherited here today and will continue to inherit for the rest of our lives. A tradition that formulates particular social hierarchies relating to what it means to have higher education, especially a considerations of those who are excluded from those traditions. We need to always remember that we are part of a larger community. An ethics of caring should guide how we shape our community. We can only hope this is how our community will shape us in return. Many of us have struggled to get to the point that we are in today. Whether those struggles are academic and or financial challenges, or juggling the balance of education, family demands, and work. It is therefore a great honor to receive the degree we are getting here today. But not only is it an honor, it is also a privilege that behooves to remember that many in Hamilton, in Canada, globally, do not have the fortune to be in the position we are in today. But higher education, in fact, education at all, is not a possibility for many, and for others who have chosen or inherited other paths. The path we have chosen is not the only path that deserves respect and ought to be valued. So whatever you do, whatever path you take, as an activist, as an artist, as a teacher, or as a politician, as a business person, as a lawyer, see these paths as forms of caring, for they are and always will be forms of both caregiving and caretaking. They are, in their essence, acts of care. As we make our way into the world, to make the world our own, there will be times where we won't be able to understand a lot of people, ideas, places that we encounter. On these occasions, remember to simply care. And so it is with this in mind that I issue you this last gentle command of your education. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Antwi, for those wonderfully eloquent words. Ladies and gentlemen, graduates, you share not only a common path, a common journey, but also now a common title. You are all McMaster alumni. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Mr. David Adames, a representative of the McMaster Alumni Association. David will present the 2011 Distinguished Alumni Award for the Arts and deliver the Alumni Association address.
Thank you, Madam Provost. The 2011 McMaster University Distinguished Alumni Award for the Arts goes to Dr. Michael Lee Chin. Dr. Michael Lee Chin, the chairman of Portland Holdings Incorporated, is a visionary entrepreneur whose philosophy of doing well and doing good has led him to both phenomenal success in business and inspiring philanthropic contributions. He earned a Bachelor of Engineering degree at McMaster in 1974, and in November 2003, he received a second McMaster degree, a Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Dr. Lee Chin rose to prominence in the financial services sector by growing Advantage Investment Counsel, AIC, into a company with $15 billion in assets under management at business peak. Now, through Portland Holdings, a privately held investment company, which manages private equity, public equity, as well as having direct ownership interest in a collection of diversified businesses operating in sectors that include telecommunications, financial services, media, tourism, healthcare, and waste management. Examples of such investments include the National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited, Columbus Communications, and a significant share of Manulife Financial. Those successes in business have fueled Dr. Lee Chin's ambitious philanthropic mission in Canada, Jamaica, and the Caribbean. While supporting a range of initiatives in the arts, culture, and education, he has made several iconic gifts to support initiatives such as the creation of the AIC Institute for Strategic Business Studies in the DeGroote School of Business at McMaster. He was lead donor in the Renaissance ROM expansion campaign and creation of the Michael Lee Chin Crystal, and the founding of a world-class nursing school at Northern Caribbean University in Jamaica. The list of honors and awards Dr. Lee Chin has received for his contributions to business and philanthropy are both extensive and diverse. He is recipient of Jamaica's highest national honor, the Order of Jamaica, the Canadian Entrepreneur of the Year for Services category, a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Canadian Youth Business Foundation, and has been named one of Time Magazine's Canadian Heroes. He is a member of the McMaster Alumni Gallery and the Hamilton Gallery of Distinction, while across the Bay, he is a member of the Burlington Entrepreneur Hall of Fame and has been named that city's Entrepreneur of the Year. The International Association of Fundraising Professionals named him one of their outstanding philanthropists. He has received several honorary degrees from prestigious universities in Canada and the Caribbean, in addition to numerous honors in the United States, including being named a Renaissance honoree by the Abyssinian Development Corporation, Harlem, and being honored at the United Nations during the World Diversity Leadership Symposium. His extensive board service includes the Trust of Americas, a foundation with the Organization of the Americas, and the Haiti Presidential Advisory Council on Economic Growth and Development. McMaster is proud to recognize Dr. Michael Lee Chin for his business leadership and his support for the arts, culture, and education with the 2011 Distinguished Alumni Award for the Arts. Chancellor Wilson, President Dean, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and members of the McMaster class of 2011. As the past president of the McMaster Alumni Association, I have the privilege today of representing the McMaster alumni family, a family that has grown in number here this morning. The 152,000 members of the McMaster Alumni Association are an unconventional family. We don't expect invitations to your birthday, and we won't ask you to help us move furniture. Instead, we're united by common experiences and shared McMaster pride. We are proud when Troy Hill, class of 2007, is recognized with the first McMaster Alumni Hamilton Community Impact Award. When Ivan Reitman, class of 69, is nominated for a Best Picture Oscar, or when Julie Angus, class of 97, becomes the first woman to row across the Atlantic Ocean. And most importantly, your fellow alumni take pride in you. In 2009, your Alumni Association surveyed McMaster graduates and found that pride in our university and our fellow alumni is exceptionally high. I encourage you to exercise that pride by staying connected. As a result of the survey, we developed a strategic plan, introduced new programming, increased the number of events outside of the Hamilton area, and expanded our use of social media and technology to keep alumni connected. Watch for the alumni magazine, the McMaster Times, in your mailbox. Follow the association on email, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. You can join us at one of the hundreds of alumni events we organize annually from Hamilton to Hong Kong. Because we are all grads just like you, we also know that you put a lot into your McMaster student experience. You paid the fees, put in the library hours, worked the part-time jobs, and gave the volunteer time. And because you did all that, the Alumni Association tries to do just a little for you. In fact, you may not be aware that the Alumni Association has already been working on your behalf. With donations to the McMaster University Student Center, the David Braley Athletic Center, Alumni Field, as well as bursaries and scholarships, we hope that we help to create the best possible student experience for you and future students at McMaster. Through the association, you'll have access to value-added services like home, auto, and life insurance. Believe me, those things will become important to you at one point. We'll provide you with access to the McMaster libraries, the University Club, and career services. We'll even help you preserve your Convocation memories with our photography program. In 5 or, if you can imagine, 50 years, we'll help you reconnect with a long-lost friend, and we'll help you stay in touch with your home department or extracurricular groups. And long before you ever become nostalgic for the good old days, we'll help you kickstart your career with our young alumni activities and networking events, or introduce you to our alumni career coach. There's a place for all of you in the McMaster Alumni Association. You may be an occasional event participant or a leadership volunteer, but as you take your McMaster experiences into the years and decades ahead, remember that you are all ambassadors and advocates of McMaster. Your achievements are the best advertisement and value of a McMaster degree. Today, we celebrate your successes as students and toast the promise of your bright futures as alumni. Your fellow Mac grads are proud of you already. We offer you our most sincere congratulations and a warm welcome to the McMaster alumni family, and make sure you celebrate this weekend. Thank you.
And now I invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver the President's address.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, graduates. It's a great pleasure to be here to speak this morning. It's in fact always invigorating and a privilege to talk to students about themselves, their work, their approach to the world, and their prospects for the future. And never more so than at graduation, when the President has the rare opportunity to have something like the last word. And it is the last word in a conversation that in one way or another has been going on since each of you first entered your degree program. I should note that some of you here today are the first graduates from brand new programs at McMaster. McMaster's programs in gender studies and feminist research, and in global health, for example. Amongst students graduating today will be the first student to complete the Water Without Borders program, an initiative of the United Nations University. And also today, the first PhD graduate from the new field of radiation sciences, radiation biology. Today, we celebrate the individual achievements of all of you, as well as the irrepressible vitality of the Academy, as it continues to open up new fields for research and study. Almost everyone in this auditorium has at one time or another been part of the sort of conversation that begins, where were you when the Twin Towers fell 10 years ago on September the 11th, 2001, for example? I know where I was on that occasion. I was sitting in my office at the University of Winnipeg on the telephone to someone at the university's bank who suddenly interrupted her long and complicated description of why some problem had occurred and said, "My God, something is happening in New York City. A plane has crashed into the World Trade Center." I hung up, found a television already surrounded by numbers of dumbfounded students, and saw what had happened. In the hour that followed, we watched first the South Tower fall and then the North Tower. The experience was utterly unforgettable, and I recall how profoundly close I felt to the students that day. Although separated from them in age by nearly 30 years, and like each of them having been brought to that place and that moment by a unique history of decisions and coincidences, I felt one with them in deep confusion, apprehension, and an inescapable sense of vulnerability. Our celebratory mood today contrasts with that somber morning a decade ago. For each of you, this ceremony signals a life shift, the conclusion of one phase and the beginning of another. And these proceedings, a calling together of the university community, bind you to each other and to McMaster for the rest of your lives. When by chance or destiny you meet up with one another in the future, you will answer in identical ways the question, what were you doing on November the 18th, 2011? That was graduation day, you will say. But what else might you say? To help think about how you might answer that question in the future, let me ask it in another inverted way. What was the world doing on your graduation day, November the 18th, 2011? Will you be able to answer that question? Did you this morning take note of the news, reflect upon the world into which you will carry your new degree and in which you will seek to be successful? And did you pause to think about what your success ought to look like, shaped by our specific historical coordinates in the prevailing and shifting global equilibrium of human happiness and suffering, poverty and wealth, altruism and greed, hatred and love? If you did not do so, I invite you to think about it now, because just as the ceremony binds you to one another and to the university, it more importantly binds you to the world and to your responsibilities in that world. Today it is true we can be grateful that there is no headline commanding single atrocity before us, as there was on September the 11th, 2001. The world is, however, no less atrocious a place, though for reasons partly having to do with the way in which world events are mediated to us, that fact is not much allowed to claim our attention. There are principally two stories being told by the media about this current moment in history. Both are parables of a sort, and they are complementary to each other. The one is optimistic and reassuring, though with hints of darker possibilities. And the other is fatalistic and frightening, but with a promise of redemption, a kind of narratological yin and yang. The first story is that of the so-called Arab Spring, which purports to teach us that despots cannot prevail indefinitely and that sooner or later people will rise up and unseat them. Apparently equally inevitable is the development which follows, and this is the souring of the revolutionary spirit, as those who have taken power reveal themselves disturbingly similar to those they have displaced. Recent events in Libya, for example, have been relayed to us according to this paradigm: the humiliation and alleged summary execution of Muammar Gaddafi, raising questions about the fitness to rule of the very people credited with liberating the country from his despotism. As I said, the story is optimistic, but with a dark aftertaste. And it is calculated to titillate us in two ways. One, by playing to our sentimental belief in the inevitability, indeed the irrepressibility of our democratic urges. And two, by reinforcing our suspicion that our human natures are too fallible and violent for democratic society. The other parable in which we are caught up is economic, and has been alluded to already today. The concept of sovereign debt was until 6 months ago obscure to most of us. Now every day we not only ponder the prospect of whole nations defaulting on their loans, we're even getting used to the idea that nations may follow one another into bankruptcy in a kind of Greek autumn. I recently heard a commentator on the CBC rattle off the way in which the economic dominoes might fall. First Greece, then Spain, then Italy, and if Italy, then France, and then even, he offered with a kind of pro forma hesitation, Great Britain. It would seem that in contrast to 2001, when humanity was urged to ponder the singularity and exceptionality of tragic phenomena, in 2011, we must contemplate chain reactions of democratic fervor in the case of the Arab Spring, of financial collapse in the case of the Greek autumn. I observed that the depressing narrative of the European financial collapse, as it is told by the media, often seems to contain a promise of redemption. And in that last word, the suggestion of moral or religious consolation is intentional. For the first time, the hard-working, debt-ridden person in the street is being allowed, indeed invited, to see that sovereign finance is in reality no different from his or her household finance. What was formerly the curse and particular destiny of the oppressed consumer now turns out to be an immutable law applicable to all participants in commerce, whether they're individuals or nation states. If you live beyond your means for an extended period, disaster must follow. Of particular interest, though, is the way in which commentators on the international crisis are less horrified by what it may portend, ghastly levels of unemployment and economic deprivation in what were formerly nations of substance and sophistication, than they're interested in the way in which financial apocalypse may provide an opportunity for the absolution of past mistakes and education about the risks of unrestrained borrowing and spending. The oddly consoling point seems to be that at one level or another, we have deserved this, whoever we are. The language points towards the need for atonement. It's worth noting here that to contest who we are, and therefore who must atone for the world's economic woes, has been at the heart of the Occupy movement. Are we the 1% or the 99%? The answer obviously matters. Certainly we are all in history together. And my point in drawing your attention to these two narratives about the world we presently inhabit is twofold. First, I want to remind you that despite our natural desire to believe we are insulated from disruptive and destructive forces at work in the world, witness the amount of time devoted to public discussions about Canada's supposed immunity to the spreading contagion of the European credit crisis, this cannot, by any logic, be true. Second, and this is a prerequisite for meaningful engagement on your part with the world, I want to underline the extent to which we make in the sense of form and give shape to problems in the language we use to talk about them. Why is this important? Because the language or the narrative we employ in defining a problem also suggests, determines, and perhaps limits the possible options available for resolving it. Given what I've said so far about the global financial crisis, it is appropriate to consider as an example of this our use of the word innovation, which is proposed to us as the key to weathering the economic storm. In almost every area of our lives, innovation is held out as a panacea. Innovation, observed the late Steve Jobs, distinguishes between a leader and a follower. And one such leader, Bill Gates, has expanded on this view in language reminiscent of Winston Churchill. And here's a quote from Gates. "Never before in history has innovation offered promise of so much to so many in so short a time." This is a heady claim, profoundly optimistic about the present and future prospects of human society, and unquestioning in according to innovation an innate and transhistorical value for good. The careers of both Steve Jobs and Bill Gates would appear to corroborate the claim. And with their example abroad, it is little wonder that a global consensus has emerged in support of innovation as the cure for all ills. Dissenting voices are few, and they are always on the margin. There is the fashion designer Coco Chanel, for example, who exclaimed, and if I could do the accent correctly, this would be more entertaining, "Innovation? One cannot be forever innovating. I want to create classics." Chanel's point draws attention to one problem with innovation, namely that ongoing change denies human beings something that they crave: constancy and a sense of more than merely provisional value. She also triggers an important question, namely, are there orders of human experience and activity that should be exempt from the drive towards reinvention? The truth is that contemporary use of the word innovation is quite restrictive, notwithstanding the air of radicalism that its proponents often wish to communicate. The American educator Peter Drucker offers this accurate definition of the dominant understanding of innovation. Innovation, he says, is the specific instrument of entrepreneurship, the act that endows resources with a new capacity to create wealth. As currently espoused, therefore, innovation, by and large, is assumed to occur within a socio-economic framework, the fundamental elements of which it does not challenge. It is in that sense profoundly conservative, which may explain why people and nations seeking national and cultural transformation through business innovation find themselves peculiarly dissatisfied. The trickle-down and knock-on benefits of economic growth through innovation may well have salutary effects in the realm of social value, but such effects are certainly not inevitable, and as we've witnessed, they are certainly not enough. A more far-reaching and potentially transformative concept, and one oddly unfashionable these days in discussions of economic distress, is imagination. I was recently heartened to attend the Woodbridge lecture here on our campus at McMaster and to hear Mark Chamberlain, a very well-known local entrepreneur and proponent of innovation, arguing for an understanding of innovation that involved the full exercise of the imagination and of human empathy. Similarly encouraging was a recent publication from the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto that argued a similar view. The goal of education in our increasingly specialized and knowledge-intensive world, wrote the authors Roger Martin and Jennifer Reel, must be to teach the meta-skill of thinking about thinking. Perhaps it is indeed true that, as Daniel Pink has suggested, the scales are tipping away from what it used to take people to get ahead: logical, linear, left brain and spreadsheet type abilities in favor of abilities like artistry, empathy, and big picture thinking, which are becoming more valuable. That is a quote from Daniel Pink. In that persistent focus on what it takes for people to get ahead, however, there is an indication that Pink has not quite left behind the model of what Martha Nussbaum has called education for economic growth. We should not be surprised at that. Education for economic growth, after all, has become the rallying cry of governments across the globe, and it is now a largely unchallenged assumption that increased levels of education and increased participation in higher education especially are essential to any nation's success in the highly competitive, knowledge-based global economy. What I would say about education for economic growth is what I said about innovation as presently understood. It is essentially conservative, small c conservative, largely because it is assumed to occur within a socio-economic model which it is not inclined to question. It follows, therefore, that those who seek radical and far-reaching social change through such a conception of education, like those who view innovation as the key to our brave new world, will inevitably be let down. Oddly enough, their disappointment is in some ways guaranteed, because while governments and corporate leaders in our country and across the Western world have been relentless in their espousal of education for economic growth, the fact is that universities, and McMaster no less than any other, continue on the whole, whether by conscious choice or by inertia, to be committed to education for citizenship, democracy, and human development. And in that project, it is not innovation that will carry the day, but imagination, the true source of revolutionary and transformative thinking. Jacob Bronowski, the mathematician and historian of science, has noted this. Here's a quote. "It is important that students bring a certain ragamuffin, barefoot irreverence to their studies. They are not here to worship what is known, but to question it." Your engagement with the world will, I hope, be of this sort. I hope that you will bring to current events and challenges a corrosive and imaginative intelligence that takes nothing for granted, that is revolutionary rather than merely innovative, and that refuses to accept without question the historical narratives and socioeconomic models that are offered to us for adoption every day. I suggested at the start that you graduates are bound to the rest of us by virtue both of our shared membership in this university community and of our simultaneous presence at this point in history. We look to you to be more than spectators in life. Indeed, we are deeply invested in what you will all accomplish as you turn your minds and imaginations loose to make this world more equitable, more peaceful, more sustaining, and in that sense, richer by far. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for those inspirational words, thoughtful words, and words of great advice for all of us here today. If you are thinking about today in history, I hope that some of you may be thinking about the McMaster Marauders this evening and the UTEC Bowl, and that will go down in history as one of this school's great accomplishments. Any Marauder fans out here? Well, it's been an inspirational morning. I hope you all have enjoyed it. I would advise that flowers that have been delivered for graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. I'd ask you to please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. I'd ask you to rise now and join with me in the singing of our national anthem. At the conclusion, this convocation stands adjourned.